Now, Mark, one of our executive members, he asked me the other day, he says, where did my passion come for this outdoors and adventures? Well, I was born in Papua New Guinea in 71, so it makes me about 40, it does make me 43. Sorry, coming down the road, just my ears are popping. So born in Papua New Guinea way back in the 70s, so a lot of Australian families were up there. My grandfather was up there, and they did a lot of work. There was a lot of money to be made in those regions at the time. So they had a rubber and cattle plantation up there in a place called Sageri, or Ilolo Estate. Now, if anyone's a bit of a war buff or war history, when the Japanese came down through, or when the Germans were invading Europe, Japan came south and they hit New Guinea or hit the Indonesian coasts and stuff like that. And they went up through Philippines and into Thailand and built their railway across to Burma. At the same sort of time, they were trying to get over New Guinea to have a port of call there so they could at one stage come through and invade Australia. So we've all heard of a thing called the famous Kokoda Trail, or Kokoda Track. Track and trail, it's a bit of a bone of contention about whether you call it one or the other. I think it's acceptable to call it both. I think the diggers probably originally called it track, but I'm going to stay out of the politics on that one, guys. So, Ilolo Estate, or Sageri, is where the Australians came up from the base in Port Moresby, and they used that as a bit of a campground to head off up onto the Kokoda Track, some number of miles away. So my grandfather at that stage knew them all. So as a kid, growing up in Ilolo Estate, up in the highlands there in New Guinea, with rubber and cattle. Oh, here we go. This rock's going to take up my diff. We got around it. We used to be able to walk out into the bush, literally straight off our property, and there were anti-aircraft guns and Japanese aeroplanes, and probably got a bit of an idea about a bit of war history at that sort of stage. Obviously, to get to our track or get to home anyway, we had to, oh man, I'll beat up four-wheel drive to drive up and down the islands and stuff like that in. So I'm used to, as a child, bouncing around. But as us three kids, just, as we got a little bit older, our parents decided, hold on, it's definitely a beer o'clock, that we needed to move back down to Australia. There wasn't very much schooling at that stage for us up there. It was either boarding school or they moved down, so we moved down to Australia. And ended up settling in a little town called Buderim, which is on the Sunshine Coast, on the east coast, about halfway. And went to the local schools there. And about 1980, I think around then, my man bought a short-wheel base Land Cruiser, Schmicko at its time. I mean, the 40 series, I'm not quite sure what series it was, but it's still an iconic Australian version of the four-wheel drive. No mod cons, no air conditioning, no power steer, rough as gut suspension, but at its time it was a peak of its performance. And we used to spend a lot of time out in the bush, camping away. We were one of those families that when we first started, we had the kitchen sink, we had absolutely every possible gadget you could possibly think of. And poor folks, they must have spent hours getting set up and setting down, and us kids obviously weren't very much help. I think as the years went on, we ditched more and more equipment and ended up going out with a lot less and a lot less, and it's kind of how I travel these days. I have all the recovery, all the mechanical equipment, but as far as things like clothes and comforts, and I keep those to a bit of a bare minimum. It's weight's one of my biggest issues. So anyway, back to the adventure. So that four-wheel drive, that was where we learned to drive. We'd go up the local beach. That's where I got my lessons. Driving around, and Humpty Doo was his name. That's where I also learned that vehicles have names. Humpty Doo, all that kind of stuff. So obviously my truck's called Tallulah. I'll tell you over beer one day where Tallulah got a name from. So, sorry, two ways running off at the same time. You always have that two-way running. You hear what's going on around me everywhere, so. But from the forward drive, and it's sort of trying to split my time between forward driving and adventures around Australia. My friends have called me the Land Cruiser after I truck, because I cruise the land a lot. I was always known as Cactus Carter growing up, because I believe that as a kid, you know, watching Roadrunner and the Coyote, that when you went to the desert there were cactuses everywhere. So I was sort of a bit disappointed when I had to my desert the first time, and no Roadrunner, no Coyote, and no big cactuses floating around. Needless to say, we are in the Australian desert, so it's a wee bit different. So. But the adventures these days, life's pretty short as far as I'm concerned. I worked in the emergency department for a long time as a nurse, and I worked on the ambulance as a paramedic, and done about, I don't know, 12 or 13 years as a lifeguard on the beach these days. And I see that life's pretty short, and you've got to make the most of it, you know. So what have we got going on here? A car parked up or bogged? No, it's a little bridge, little suspension bridge. Some guys off the side having a swim. Love it. It's the beauty about around here, you wave to everybody. Now I've got no idea what we're talking to you about, but see you out there soon, guys.